Okay, I think this is a young man, Kyle, from Wisconsin, and this is the Ask Andy show. I answer global questions about the planet. I've been to 90 countries and traveled nonstop for 16 plus years. Okay, Kyle's asking, Kyle L. from Wisconsin, I find your videos inspiring and filled with practical advice. You have been my go-to channel for the past few months for interesting stories and ideas on how to live more by living simply. How to live more of a life by living simply. And that's a pretty astute way of looking at it. Thank you for taking the time to answer questions and share your life stories. I am 20 years old and studying at UW-Madison, University of something, Wisconsin-Madison, I guess. But I dream of world travel once circumstances allow me to leave for a while. The places I have been, I am most interested in are more remote areas of Central, Southeast Asia, and West Africa. I've simplified my life by stripping away the possessions I truly do not need. They normally call this minimalism, but I just thought I'd pump that in there. And keep my monthly expenses minimal. So, oh yeah, so I used the word minimal. I do not wear expensive clothing, and I do not do my best to be more sustainable. I'm going to insert something. I think it was Mahatma Gandhi one time said that we're rich by the things we don't need to live. And what he was saying is that each of our possessions and each of the things that we hoard or we buy or whatever are things that substantiate our egos. And you know, if you need a lot of things to boost up your ego, that means you're not very rich mentally and emotionally. So the emotionally stable mental person is a person that just basically is safe and happy without many possessions surrounding them to build up and fortify their ego. But I really do believe this, that we're rich by the things we don't need, okay, to live. And okay, so I've been best to become more sustainable and less of a consumer. So I mean, and he's right. Sustainable living it's much easier to sustain your life when you don't have anything. I mean, these guys, you know, you don't realize that all the work you have to do to just sustain all the things you buy. Oh, it's incredible. Once you have nothing really to sustain and you just have a backpack, it's such a liberating feeling. In an effort to further simplify and lessen the cost of living, I took on vegetarianism several years ago. I still consume dairy products and occasionally eggs, and even more rarely fish. And here comes the question. I am wondering if I did myself a disservice by actually overcomplicating my life when it comes to eating abroad. My question to you is this. Do you find that vegetarianism is prevalent outside the United States, and in which cultures do you see vegetarian diets most catered to or as part of the culture itself? Truly only one country, and that's India. I think the Hindu religion basically has a thing called ahimsa or something. They take that off, and then basically ahimsa means first do no harm. And so the only country I know that where there's a large amount of vegetarians is, you know, India, and then starting to be a lot in the United States. But most countries are pure meat eaters. So, in what countries? Have you overcomplicated your life? Yeah, you have. I mean, not eating. I mean, for example, a lot of countries eat a lot of grains and, you know, manioc and cassavas and different, you know, starchy foods and stuff. But they even often then will mix them with oils, you know, that are really, might put a little beef in there just to give the flavor to the thing. So if you're trying to be as strict, I had some vegetarians come to Guatemala, and they were really wanking all the time because they couldn't find anything to eat. But they also were wanking because they wouldn't cook on their own. I mean, there's a huge market in Lago Atitlan. There's not that huge. It's really a little more complicated here to eat because there isn't a large market. But most of the world has large markets, and most of Ecuador has large markets. It's just that Vilcabamba doesn't. But it really makes life more complicated when you try to be a strict vegetarian because you really need to cook. And the ability to cook inside your hotel is only, I mean, it is very prevalent in Central and South America. But everywhere else on the planet, it's very rare to find a kitchen connected to your room. I mean, I love this about some of the Central America and South America places. They have hostels with kitchens, and I actively pursue these places because it's a much better, healthier way to eat. But you know, I also cook in my room just to eat healthier. But it does make my life cheaper, but it does make it more complicated. Generally overall, if you eat anything and everything, life is simpler. Just bottom line, you're going to fit in everywhere, and you're not going to have to sit there and tell us, yes, so yes, you are. You're making your life more complicated by being a vegetarian. And the reason to make your life become a vegetarian is more of a health thing than it should be anything about, you know, any way you do it, it's more complicated, okay? But it might be more healthier. So, but can you do it in every country? It's going to be very difficult in some countries because they make goulashes, and a lot of countries have these combinations of food where they run everything together, and they're going to put meat products on your plate if you buy it in a restaurant. So generally, if you're going to eat in your room, you're going to have to be very good at cooking on your own. So read my tips about hot plates and how to cook with alcohol and a tuna can and stuff like this. And you know, I do cook in my room a lot because I had malnutrition in India because the food was so dirty. And so I was eating a lot of packaged goods like crackers and things like that, and I was really afraid of the way they cooked. They're really, really not, you know, clean people. But you know, if you really want a vegetarian diet, you know, in a way, Thailand would be quite easy, I think. Most of Central and South America in these mountainous areas where there's a lot of vegetables and food would be quite easy. But it takes a lot of work. I mean, there's nobody going to cater to you, and nobody's going to kiss you. And even you know, I always make jokes about vegetarians. Okay, so today you got spaghetti and the cheapest vegetables in the city. Tomorrow you got rice and the cheapest vegetables and fruit in the city. And this is really not that healthy, okay, because it takes a lot of scrounging in one of these. There is no way in this city. I have to go to 5 different restaurants, 5 different food shops to buy my food in here in this city. I'm always going into different places to buy food. And being a vegetarian would even make it more complicated. But there, you know, in most of the expat, you know, there is vegetarian restaurants, but only one. I think there's one pure vegetarian restaurant here in town. And you know, I'm in a very poofy type city, Vilcabamba. I mean, this is definitely everybody wants to go organic. You know, they're just off the walls. This is a heavy duty, but there's really only one vegetarian restaurant, which tells you something. It really isn't that profitable, okay? Because if it was everybody doing it, there would be vegetarian restaurants everywhere, but they're not. Okay, but yeah, you made your life more complicated. But, you know, do it for health reasons. Just choose your food. I've given up sugar, and I think that was one of the healthiest things I do. And I think if you gave up processed food, that would be much more, it'd be very strenuous to buy the food that's not processed, but it'd be, to me, the healthiest way to live is to just give up all processed food. Anything that comes in a package that is obviously, you know, I mean, an olive in a package is not processed really. But, you know, anything that where they're combining and they got this list of ingredients on the back. But, you know, you're doing the right thing, Kyle. I'm not worried about you.
We can